Welcome to the Road End podcast. Stay tuned to hear all things LFC.
Hi everyone and welcome to season 3 of the Road End podcast. Today I'm joined by Peter Scarfe. Peter is the chairman of the Hillsborough Survivors Support Alliance, otherwise known as the HSA. Thanks for joining today, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good. I just wanted to bring you on, just obviously with the aftermath of, well, obviously everything, but also with what's happened in the last couple of days, which we will get into. But for any listeners, I want to just give you an overview on why me and Peter are actually sat here today talking about this. So, in 1989, semi-final of the FA Cup, Liverpool Football Club were due to play against Nottingham Forest to decide who was going to reach the final. It was at Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield. And on this day, the unthinkable happened, and too many people in general lost their lives in what can only be described as a disgraceful police operation on the day. What was to follow in the aftermath of that, we couldn't imagine. A newspaper covering their front page with stories that were totally untrue, and the government and the police covered up how and what went on, which in turn led to the death of 97 people. So in 2016, the report came out, which proved the Liverpool fans were right all along, and that basically the lies that had been told for so many years was just utter nonsense, which, again, we all knew about. Peter, tell the listeners, why was this alliance started up? So for anyone who doesn't know what the alliance is, Peter is the chairman of the Hillsborough Survivors Support Alliance.
Obviously, Hillsborough 34 years ago, it was an era where mental health was a bit of a taboo. You didn't talk about it. It was one of those where it was head back, shoulders back and get on with your life. But of course, as you know now, more and more people are, showing symptoms of mental health and PTSD. And of course, the thing with Hillsborough is, although it did happen 34 years ago, it's still raw for us Hillsborough survivors. And of course, it's one of those things that will never, ever go away. It's brought up, it's trending on social media every day. It's brought up every day. It's something that it's basically the head of the scab is being picked off regularly. And of course, what happened on Saturday at an all Manchester FA Cup final, Liverpool fans were brought into it with the unbelievable shirt that he was wearing. I mean, how he managed to get into that stadium with that shirt on and not be challenged is just beyond me. I mean, as soon as we seen it, I sent an email direct to the FA, obviously sent the image, and the FA acted upon it straight away. Whether they were acting on it beforehand, I'm not too sure, but they acted upon it straight away. They got security involved. They recognised the bar that he was stood in, because obviously they just looked at the image, recognised where that bar was and knew what part of the stadium he was in. So as soon as he'd gone into the stadium to watch the game, that's when security went in after him, found exactly where he was, pinpointed him on CCTV. Staff moved in, and then the police came in and arrested him. So how he thought he'd get away with wearing something like that is just unbelievable. But the pain, the anxiety it's caused. I mean, I've spoken to family members today who lost a brother and one lost a dad, and the pain and the anguish it's caused for them. And then of course we've got everyone in our group who's the same. I mean, we look after people every weekend, every week, every day of the week. There's always somebody who needs a little bit of support. Our WhatsApp group's always very, very active. And of course, we've had anniversaries this year. Yeah. We've had anniversaries of Stade de France, which we did a lot of work on Stade de France as well. And then, of course, you get this, you think, this is it, it's the end of the season. No more hate chants, no more hate comments, no more trolling on social media. This is a FA Cup all Manchester final. We're going to be neutrals watching this. And it was one of those games where I wasn't bothered who lost, but I wish both of them could. And then, of course, that happened. And, of course, it just ruined everything. There's no way you could settle. There was no way we were allowed to settle. We were straight away supporting people, contacting the people that we needed to contact to make sure that action was taken. And then choosing the right words to tell people. Don't go on social media. Don't start venting. Don't get angry. You're only punishing yourself by being angry. We'll deal with it in the proper manner. I asked members of our group to write impact statements of how they actually felt, and we sent them all off to the FA, and they've now been forwarded to the CEO of Wembley, and they will be going direct to the Metropolitan Police. So fingers crossed they're read out in court, because they are really, really powerful. The damage it's caused is it's shocking. You just wouldn't believe.
There's going to be people that come out with absolute nonsense comments. So how do we know he's not referencing the points? All this, let's just say bollocks, because that's what it is. How did he get near the ground? How did he get in the ground? And how did he stand in the ground is beyond me, because, there's decent human beings out there. There's not only people from down south, but also people from Manchester that will be tarnished with this as well. I have no idea. I've got no idea. And if he gets away with it, worst case scenario, what can be done?
I don't think he'll get away with it. Obviously it's common knowledge. It's all over social media. He's a right-wing activist. What he's done was deliberate. He's targeted Hillsborough families. One of the statements that I'd received, which was from our vice chair, and my view as well, was he wanted us to die. Us who survived, he wanted us to be on that number of, more than 97. He wanted me dead. He wanted Diane dead, and he wanted so many other fans to die in that stadium. Why? Why would anyone want that? Wish that upon anyone? Without going into detail about what he is, who he is, and how he goes about his daily business, that's there on social media. Anyone can read that. So I'm not going to judge him on that. I'm judging him on what he did, what he wore on that day. It was a conscious decision. You think, well, how did he get in the stadium? Yeah. My theory on that is he's travelled to Wembley in the morning time. He's probably wearing a really light jacket, got through the turnstiles, took the jacket off in the bar, and there's the T-shirt for all to see. I know the weather was great, and people are saying, well, he probably didn't. And then, of course, the usual, as you swore so I can, the bullshit that he's referencing 2018 when we didn't win the league on 97 points. 97 points wasn't enough. What a load of poppycock that is. What a load of balls. Why would a Manchester United fan have that on his shirt?
Yeah.
Manchester City fan maybe, but a Man United fan, no. He's praising his rivals for beating us in the league now. It's balls, utter balls.
And obviously you've sent your email to the chairman of Wembley, or the CEO of Wembley. What are you expecting to hear back from that?
See, I sent it to the FA. The FA have sent it to the CEO of Wembley. So they'll act upon it. They'll send it to the police. We're hoping to hear something back from the Metropolitan Police ourselves. We're hoping that, because he's got a court date, we're hoping that our statements are read out. And if they wish for somebody to appear in the court, then of course there's plenty of people who will go down and make statements and read out their own statements. But the statements are powerful enough. And to be honest, I don't really want one of my members of HSA sitting in a court and listening to the tripe that he's going to come out with and have to put themselves through that. I really don't. But I'm willing to go to court, and I'm willing to read out statements and defend us, basically.
Obviously, his details are plastered everywhere, so regardless of what happens, not that I'm making sure that this does happen, but I can't see him getting off lightly regardless. So what will be with that. So tell us a little bit more about the Alliance then. Obviously, you said you got your likes of WhatsApp groups. How long has this been set up, and who turns to you guys?
Well, we set this up in 2019 officially. We've become a non-profit organisation. We fundraise when we're not funded. We fundraise to pay for people to go for private therapy, therapy that's running at 98% success. So it's really, really helping people move forward with their lives. Obviously, we're very little known. Not a lot of people know about us. When you think about, we've sent nearly 200 people for therapy at such a high success rate. We have a turnover, because obviously people leave the WhatsApp group once they feel strong enough to move forwards with their lives. We have a turnover probably around about 140 people in our WhatsApp group, and that's just one of our groups. We have several. We have one for Stade de France. We have a banter just for football, basically. But we have peer support groups for people who are really struggling. They have a 1-to-1 or maybe 3-to-1, where we'll have 3 volunteers look after this one person, and then he can reach out, or she can reach out at any time, night or day. There'll always be someone there for them. But yeah, I mean, we're doing really, really good stuff. And as I said before, we're non-funded, but when it came to Stade de France, and of course there was 2 suicides after Stade de France, unfortunately, the Liverpool Foundation stepped up, and they gave us a pocket of money to use. We set up a separate peer support group for Stade de France, more or less 15 minutes or so before kickoff. And by the time half time came, there was 45 people on that group. And then, of course, as I say, the Liverpool Foundation funded some of the therapy that when we were needing to send people for different forms of counselling, which again, it's different to the therapy that we've designed, because our therapy is for complex PTSD, which is obviously from basically 34 years ago is when our trauma happened. And of course, over them 34 years, different things have happened in our lives. So that one trauma we had becomes suppressed by other traumas, as in bereavements, loss of family members, accidents, all sorts of different things. But when it comes to Stade de France, it was raw. It was a raw emotion. It had only just happened. We had to wait 4 to 6 weeks before we knew exactly who needed help there and then. And it's unfortunate, but you don't know what PTSD is, or if anyone's struggling with PTSD, until after 4 to 6 weeks. Because if they're still struggling, they're still having flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety attacks, then they need help. But most people, when they have a trauma in their lives, or they witness a trauma, over a period of 4 to 6 weeks, the anxiety starts to ease, the trauma starts to become more of just a bad memory, flashbacks, nightmares, them kind of things all stop. But for some, they don't, and they're the ones where we were ready. We were picking up the pieces, sending them to a triage psychotherapist, who then forwarded them on to 1-to-1 therapy. Very successful. And then, of course, that money that we got from the foundation, which was substantial but not enough, run out, and we ended up having a meeting with the FA over a documentary that we'd done, and the FA stepped up and they've given us funding as well, so it's managed to send more people for therapy because of Stade de France.
That's good. So obviously, for people who are listening, in reference to the Stade de France, the Champions League final, Real Madrid and Paris, we all know what went on that night. We now know even more so that it's out there in the media, and there's been brilliant media coverage on this. Finally, some actual good media coverage for Liverpool Football Club, by the way. I was there that night, and the events that took place, not only outside the ground, but in, looking out. I mean, it's not a touch on what could have happened, which is scary enough to say. How much did this bring back stuff for obviously people part of your group, let's say? Because I know for me that coming on from there, or when the match was on, I wasn't even bothered about the match. And a lot of people were in the same boat in that ground. Liverpool fans are known to be bouncing. They're known to be like absolutely up for it, behind the team and everything. But there was just a weird atmosphere inside that night. And I can't explain it, because I just can't explain it. Coming out the ground, the stuff that was going on afterwards and stuff, it's just a disgrace, to be fair. But did you get a lot of I wouldn't say backlash because that's not the right word I'm looking for, but did you get a lot of memories brought back, not only for yourself, but for everybody else?
Yeah, major re-triggers, major.
Yeah.
See, the thing is with obviously you were there, but you're far too young to have been around for Hillsborough. So obviously we've got members of our group. There's 25,000 Liverpool fans at Hillsborough.
My dad was there, and to be honest with you, I've never, ever, ever had a conversation about it. It's just the back of the mind.
Yeah, he won't open up about that. Not a lot of people. That's how they deal with it. The thing with Stade de France was that there was major re-triggers, and anyone that was at Hillsborough have got the lived experience of how to deal with that situation, and that's why people didn't die on that day. That's why the crowd stayed calm, because there's people with the lived experience who knew that if we panic, people will be crushed. And they kept people calm. And I'm not just talking about Hillsborough survivors and family members who have that lived experience. They're children. The next generation, like yourself. I know obviously you haven't been told by your dad of his experiences, but you know what happened to Hillsborough. Yeah. You've got an idea of what happened. So you know that we need to stay calm. We need to stay together. We need to abide by whatever's going on and try and unify and stay calm. Now, of course, the thing with Stade de France, and it's coming out, it will come out, the getting sent through the underpass, starting to kettle the crowd, bottlenecking where they were putting the vans bumper to bumper, where it was narrowing it to two at a time getting through. Closing turnstiles. Come on, these are modern day turnstiles. They weren't broken, they were closed.
Yeah.
Turnstiles weren't working at Hillsborough. The crowds were bottlenecked at Hillsborough. They were sent through an underpass, which is very similar to when we were sent down a tunnel. There were so many different things, the triggering, and then of course the behaviour of the police. That was the kind of behaviour that we had to deal with. Obviously, for me, I feel like it was a carbon copy from the stuff that I've been sent.
Yeah.
Photographic images, videos, everything was carbon copy. It was almost like they've read the textbook of what happened to Hillsborough and they've copied it. One of our directors, Stuart, he went to the stadium in a different route. He went over the top. He didn't go on the underpass. He actually, I think he jumped off a stop further on the metro. And when he got to the turnstiles, he's not stupid, you know what I mean? He understands a little bit of French. And when they scanned his ticket, the scanning machine comes up, invalid, wrong turnstile, but in French. So it's stating that he's at the incorrect turnstile. They're telling him that it's a fake ticket. And he's going, no, that says incorrect turnstile. So they scan it again. They tell him again it's a fake ticket. He argues the toss again. So in the end, one of the stewards, one of the staff members, they scanned theirs and let him in. And it was to get him out of the way, obviously to shut him up. But he stayed the opposite side of the turnstile, telling people that it says that you're going through the wrong turnstile. That's all it is. It's the wrong turnstile. And of course, they moved him on then. Now, he witnessed other things. He witnessed inside the stadium, and he's got footage of it. When people made their way to their seats, there was an area where people had gone in, and they shut the gates behind them and then locked them.
Yeah, so I got in the ground, met a friend. We had a drink, toilet, went down to our seat. As I went to come back up the steps to get another drink, they locked me out. I couldn't get back out to the concourse. So obviously you've got the thing going on the screen telling you that due to late arrivals and stuff, and then you've got a gate getting locked, and you're thinking, what the hell is going on? So then you're arguing with people who don't have a clue what you're saying, or pretend in some cases. So I show him my ticket, and he takes my ticket off me and won't give me it back.
Yeah.
And they're saying, go back to your seat, go back to your seat. And you just couldn't do nothing, and you didn't know what was going on. You had no idea. So then, obviously, you get a bit of squabbling, you get a bit of argument. No one knows. Like, explain what's happening, and then you're seeing people climbing over the fence. Clearly not Liverpool fans getting into where you're trying to sit.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, even that, because one of the guys from our group, when he managed to get into the stadium after having a lot of trouble down in the fan zone, he taken our flag and he had it stolen from him, and he chased him down and got it back. But of course, a lot of persuading, because it's a Hillsborough flag, it's not a Liverpool flag. But he was trying to use it to get in, and obviously he climbed over. And then when this guy finally got into the stadium, there was people sitting in his seat. They weren't English, and he thought, do you know what? I'm not even going to challenge them. He just sat down. He was in a daze anyway. He just sat down and obviously didn't pay any attention to the game. He just sat on one of the steps. And a lot of people didn't watch the game. And of course, the ripple effect of this is it gets out to the players as well. Yeah. And I felt in the second half, the Liverpool players had lost heart anyway. You know, the worries about family members outside. You've seen Jason McAteer. You've seen what it did to him because of what happened to his wife. Then, of course, there's other players who've given their friends and family tickets, and they're worried about them outside. And it's got to have an effect on you. It really has. I'm not making excuses, because we should have stuffed them anyway. But whatever will be, will be. But yeah, what happened in Paris was just absolutely shocking. And although obviously there's different solicitors who are involved in this, who are fighting for people, it's accountability. People think that Liverpool fans, especially Manchester and so on London clubs and all that, they think we're after compensation, but it's not. It's accountability. It's something we never got 34 years ago. And if we can get accountability now, then it's like, well, I told you so. We didn't get it last time. We're going to fight for it this time. And it isn't money. I'm telling you now, that the people that went to Paris, who paid good money for their tickets, and as you know, they weren't cheap.
No.
They've donated that to us when they've had the refund. And there's quite a few of them that have done it. Some have done it anonymously. They just paid in through PayPal. And some have emailed us for bank details so that we get the lot and not a percentage taken from us. So it isn't about money. It's about accountability. And someone's got to be accountable for what happened. It's shocking. It was shocking the way the police were in the fan zone as well. I mean, This is something where people are falling down and not being able to get a solicitor to back them on this, because someone's liable for what happens in the fan zone. The police went in there mob-handed. Gates were closed, so once you were inside that fan zone, you weren't getting out, or there was only one or two ways out. And police moved in there mob-handed. They started, getting really aggressive with fans. Tear gas, pepper spray, you name it. And then, of course, you've got the locals who were attacking people, stealing mobile phones, stealing wallets, sunglasses, you name it. Everything was, I'll say, our flag was stolen, but managed to get it back. Stuart, he had his phone stolen, but fortunately, the younger lads that were with him could run, and they got it back. A friend of mine, he managed to get into the stadium, and then, of course, when he came out, that's when he got pepper sprayed. But then the police used the truncheon across his back and pushed him out of the stadium, out of the concourse, and in a direction where he wasn't sure where he was going. He was a bit disorientated because he was being sprayed in the face anyway. And he sat down, and of course he's trying to focus, he's rubbing his eyes, and he's looking on his phone because he had no idea where he was. He'd been separated from everybody. And then this gang of local youths are coming towards him, tooled up. He knew, he's seen, obviously hand down the front of the pants, but they've got things under the jackets, and they're coming towards him, and he feared for his life. He got up off the floor because obviously he's checking his phone. And he's thinking, I've got nothing for them to steal. They're going to attack me here. I don't know what to do. And with that, there was a a group of Real Madrid fans walking past. And they go, "Oh, my friend," and they grab hold of him and they pull him into the middle of the group of Real Madrid fans. So then they're like, come on, towards the local youths. And there was more of them. So the youths backed off.
Wow.
But then he's still in fear because this is Real Madrid fans and I'm a Liverpool fan. In a Liverpool shirt, what am I going to do? And one of them spoke a bit of English. And he says, "You from Liverpool?" And Dave's, yeah, from Liverpool. And he goes, we walk you back to your hotel. And he's saying to them, "I don't know where I'm staying. I have no idea where I'm staying. I'm trying to get hold of my friend." So they walked him to the metro. And of course, the metro was on strike. There's no trains. And one of them, because obviously he could speak a little French, contacted an Uber for him and got him back to his hotel. Now, he was one of the lucky ones. There was some that, they just got attacked.
Me and Peter now discussed the FA Cup final and, the actions and the repercussions for the guy who wore that disgusting shirt. My question on the day was, do we think the FA have acted on this because it's spiraled out of control on social media, or do we think they've acted on this knowing the fact that yourselves and other people have contacted them straight away? I know this could just be a bit of both, but social media is a big thing, isn't it? And for that to have been doing the rounds the way it was.
No, it's the FA acted straight away. Security acted straight away. Metropolitan Police acted straight away. What's it called? Wembley staff. They all acted immediately. They started to search for this guy. We had a meeting with the FA late last year. Going into it, we've been correspondence with them early this year as well, and they've made massive changes. For the first time in 34 years, we've got the FA supporting us and helping us, and they've acted in a very, very positive way. I mean, they've indirectly funded us for therapy. They've given money to the Liverpool Foundation for us to draw down to help people access therapy. They contacted Sky to lower the away volume when they start singing hate chants. It was the FA who contacted Merseyside Police when that statement went out at the derby for zero tolerance to hate chants. They knew about and supported the Nottingham Forest group with the banner that they put up. Now, that was born in one of our meetings. We had a meeting at Hotel Anfield because we couldn't get in the stadium. And Nottingham Forest fans came up. We had a discussion over what they could do. They wanted to do something. Had a discussion. They came up with the idea of a banner, and Spirit of Shankly endorsed it. They helped pay for that banner as well. And the banner went on display. And as you well and truly know, it got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
The guys who did it obviously were petrified because they thought they're going to get massive backlash. They thought they might get it off their own fans as well, but they never. It was a huge success. And of course, I was at the Arsenal game, and the Arsenal fans were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. There wasn't a single hate chant. They sung like proper football supporters.
It was a proper away end, wasn't it?
Yeah, they backed their team right through the whole game. And of course, we were 2-0 down and they were singing and we felt like shit, but we were singing back. And then, of course, I was very fortunate because I've written to the club about this. I wanted to be able for someone from our group to experience the rail seating, safe standing. And we never got anything back. We never heard anything back from them, which I was quite surprised about. And then, of course, I managed to get 2 tickets for the Arsenal game. My son and I went, and we were in the car at the back where the railed seating is, the safe standing. So I got to experience it. And I've got to say, and I'll say to any Hillsborough survivor who's worried about going back to the game, Is it safe? Yes, it's very, very safe. It's amazing experience. I was there with the choir, so we were singing our heads off. I mean, I lost my voice singing Liverpool. So there was certain songs that I wouldn't sing, but there was a lot that I did. And it was a great atmosphere. It was fantastic. And there's been quite a few games like that, but there's been an awful lot. Like I was at the Leicester City game, and I mean that again, the chants, they're horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I'm hoping that the guy who was sat behind me will be watching this at some point. I was in the main stand. I was on a friend's ticket, and there was a guy behind me. And of course, next thing is Leicester City starts singing "Always the Victims," the sign on, all the usual stuff. And then the murderers chant come out, and he was furious. He was so angry. He was effing and blind, and he never said anything untoward. But he was angry. He was swearing, and I turned and I spoke to him briefly, and I just said to him to calm. I'll explain to him why. I said, because we are dealing with this, and we were already in talks with the FA. We knew what was going to happen. Laws are changing. And I managed to speak to him at the final whistle, and he turned around and said that his dad was at Hillsborough, and he was explaining how it affected his dad. He gave evidence at the inquest, and he was in floods of tears. And I had my HSA badge on. I've got my t-shirts on now.
T-shirt.
I took my badge off, my pin badge, and I gave it to him. I said to him, I went, if you need to get in touch, obviously we're easy to find. There's my badge. And he's going, oh, no. He introduced me to his dad, and it was all hugs and handshakes, and it was just dead emotional. Explain to him what we're doing. Explain to him the law is going to change. It's coming in 23-24, so it comes in next season. At the moment, it's a public order offence, but it will be treated exactly the same way as the racist and homophobic chants. So they will act and they will punish people for it. But again, you look at some clubs, some supporters are horrendous. And I think the worst, obviously, we heard recently was the Chelsea fans. And BT let them sing as loud as they wanted to. And of course, we heard it at home. It was horrendous. Manchester City, you know what they're like. They're just, even the players, even the coach, for him to, defend them after what they were singing, defending them for it. And you think, hang on. But this people don't realise, but that's where it begun. Because if they can get away with it, then it becomes a free-for-all for everybody else. Yeah. And it's obviously been increasing more and more because no one's being punished. So hopefully now more and more people will be punished. I mean, I think they're going to throw the book at this guy. They're going to make an example of him. One, because of his background anyway, but two, highly offensive shirt. That was highly offensive. I mean, the hate it's caused so many of us, myself included. And of course, what people don't realise is I'm a Hillsborough survivor. Diane's a Hillsborough survivor. We're having to pick up the pieces. We're the ones who are having to support people over the weekend. And of course, you've seen the weather. It's amazing, and you want to enjoy time with your family, and we haven't been able to. Because she's having to basically deal with Twitter, and I'm having to deal with people on WhatsApp. And of course, I'm getting emails, and I'm also getting media contacts, because obviously I've been contacted by BBC Northwest. I was on Radio Merseyside the other morning. So yeah, there's a lot going on that side of it as well. And we do this voluntary, and we're having to give up time that, invaluable time really, that we'll never ever get back.
34 years later, I just don't. Well, like you said, certain things have brought this back out to the attention of people. This singing and this chanting stuff, and thankfully, Leicester have been sent to the Championship because of, although that's not justice, that's one of them things where you think I haven't got to listen to it against them, because I was at their ground a couple of years back. We got beat 1-0 in between Christmas and New Year. I had my lad with me, 4 or 5 years of age at the time, and the whole ground was singing it for maybe 60-70% of the game. Why am I explaining that to my 5-year-old lad? Why they're singing that song? What is it they're singing, Dad? Well, don't worry about that, mate. I'll explain that to you when you're bigger. You don't need to hear that now. And I honestly just can't get over that we're still talking about this. So obviously that's coming into play next season. But the question people will ask is, well, why is it coming in next season? Why can it have come in earlier?
Well, it kind of didn't it, really? I mean, obviously the Derby, people were arrested. Nottingham Forest game, there was people arrested. Not when they played at Anfield, but when we played them in the FA Cup the season before. There was someone arrested in the stadium there. Again, we made impact statements and the guy was banned. Again, public order offence. So they know that they can do something, they can act upon it, and they will definitely be doing it. So yeah, they have started to, but it's only started to gather pace now. I know, of course, we waited, but it's like everything, isn't it? When it comes to Liverpool, we just have to wait till the last thing. It's I don't even want to go into it, but really, when you look at the likes of Britain's Got Talent, and of course the Boom, the kids who done the dance for Anne Williams, and it was pulled from the programme, and you wonder why. It's politics. That's why it's been pulled out. Yeah. But if they'd have let them in, or they hadn't have pulled it the way they did, more and more people from Liverpool would have been watching that show rather than boycotting it.
What message do you have for anyone out there who even thinks of opening the mouth or thinks of putting these T-shirts on, does the hand gestures at the match, anything as such? What message have you got for them?
Think before you do it, because you'll be ejected from the stadium. You're looking at bans, definitely, without a doubt. And one thing that we're pushing for is that these people they need to face us. They need to be, whether it's like an awareness course or something, but they need to face survivors. And I'm happy to pull a panel together for them to sit in front of people who won't lose the rag, but will educate them, because that's what they need. They need to be educated. But it needs to stop. They don't realise the damage it's doing. We lose too many people. Too many people are taking their own lives because of having to relive their trauma. It's not just because of Paris. We've had a couple this year, as you probably already heard, who've taken their own lives by suicide. We had some last year as well. And it's never ending. And if we can stop that, we will. If we can prevent people taking their own lives, we will do it. We're easy to find. We're obviously Twitter, Facebook. We have a website as well. And we're there. We're not just there for people who were caught up in Hillsborough 34 years ago. We're there for people who were caught up at Stade de France. We're there for anyone who's affected by Hillsborough in no matter what way it was, whether you were staff, whether you're a family member, whether you were the next generation and your parents had gone through it. We're there for you, and we will do whatever we possibly can to help. But yeah, they hate chants, they hate slurs, the tweets, the lot. They've got to stop. And of course, Lou's got the third person to court, so this guy's going to be charged for it. And hopefully we've got this guy in court on the 16th, and he'll be charged as well for the shirt. So yeah, really, we need to make sure that people know that we're not going to let this one slide.
Right. I just want to thank you for your time today, Peter. Okay. This has been a difficult one for me because obviously I wasn't there on the day, but I'm trying to educate myself as the days go on and as the years go on, because obviously you guys have lived through it. Plenty of people have, and we've lived through it being around these people also. And, I take my hat off to you and everyone in the group and the Alliance that are still working hard to this day to make sure people are aware and, actually be there for people, because people are on their own now and they need people like you. So there's going to be plenty of people that just want to shake your hands, especially myself. Thanks again, mate, and thanks for taking your time out for this.
No worries. And if you ever wanted to do a recap, another one, by all means get in touch, because happy to get the message out there and even progress. We'll just see how we got on and talk about it again. All right, good to meet you anyway.
Nice to meet you, Peter.
Okay. All right.
See ya.
Bye now. Bye.
For anyone who's listened to today's episode and you've never spoke out before and you do feel like you do need to speak to someone, please reach out to HSA, because what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. There's people out there that are scared to speak up, and in the past, in different circumstances, I've been one of them, and I know how good and how helpful it is to just speak out. Obviously, this is different circumstances, and I will never understand deep down as much as I know what happened that day. But yeah, please reach out to HSA. Twitter, Instagram, email, phone. I'll post the links on the links for the podcast. So thanks again. One last message. Justice for the 97. You'll never walk alone.
Thanks to everyone for listening in to today's podcast, and thank you to our amazing guests. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media, twitter.com/The Road End Pod, and on Instagram, Instagram/The Road End Pod.